So there's a problem with these new Right of the Nine prophecy weapons. Can you spot it? How about now? Do you see the difference? This is like a trip to the eye doctor, except with more depression. Now, Prosecutor, we're gonna do that one too. And then the original. Do you see the difference? Majority, can you throw a smoke like right here? Can you do that again? How about now? Can you see a difference? And no, it's not the Adept versions. Watch, this is an original Relentless. And then this is a non-Adept new Relentless. The other tragedy of the Prophecy weapon pool is Judgment having more magazine, which means you cannot proc Facet of Solitude to get wall hacks from a neutral time to kill. Some commenter might say, well, that's because you have to use time payload. Time payload makes it more consistent like it used to. No, it's not time payload. Oh, maybe it is time payload. Hold on. I just did that 3 times in a row and it didn't work before then. Okay, yeah, that's what happened the other times. So it's even more inconsistent. But you're right, commenter. You got me on this one. While it is a bummer that the new versions do not have the highlight scopes, that doesn't mean that's not something Bungie could fix in the future. So don't delete your new ones if you happen to have near perfect rolls. Speaking of, let's talk about what a perfect roll might look like. Starting with the Prosecutor auto rifle. Keep in mind that in future weeks, the original Prophecy dungeon might be farmable, so you can get some of those old weapons with the highlight scope and unique perks. Like, for example, Prosecutor used to have Cascade Point, which is excellent for using something like Adria's Scepter and then extending a kill into Cascade Point. It's very, very fun. Or you could do double Cascade Point. It's very, very addicting. So much fun. Also, Golden Tricorn. This one's less relevant, but just in case you really like that perk. So let's talk about the new version now. As far as recoil direction goes, I think all of the variations are learnable. I'll show you what the recoil looks like. This is the base, looks something like that. This is chambered. It's just a medium diagonal. And then arrowhead is a slight diagonal. And all of them are learnable, so just pick your favorite. I like arrowhead the best. Ricochet rounds, no brainer. Then for main perk 1, Zen Moment or Keep Away for consistency, and then Target Lock for consistency in the other column. But you can do some pretty cool stuff, like with Paracausal Affinity, you can use the conditional Finality Shotgun. A kill with that will activate this perk, giving you 20% damage. And then Onslaught also has a soft synergy, because since the rate of fire is faster, you're getting to the bottom half of the magazine sooner, therefore giving you that 3% extra damage sooner. That covers the Prosecutor. Let's talk Relentless. They forgot about Zen Moment on it. Recoil direction here does not matter at all. It's pretty much the same and indistinguishable. So therefore, I think Fluted Barrel gives you the most stat total, and it also desperately wants handling. Since this frame was nerfed, I do think you want the range masterwork and the ricochet rounds. Now, what is unique about this pulse rifle? Because otherwise you could just use Elsie's rifle in the energy slot. I think Slice sets it apart, and then a perk that they added was Elemental Honing, and I think that can help gain some consistency back for this frame, so you can be a bit more forgiving. As you can see, tier 4 and under, it's a 5 head, 1 body, and then once the perk kicks in, it's going to be even more forgiving. And then in the future, Edge of Fate, we'll have a weapon stat perk on our armor that can go up to 6% extra damage, and that might mean this cleanly 2 burst, especially with Elemental Honing. However, if you just want a 6s roll, Desperado, and Paracausal Affinity can go crazy. I think Head Seeker's a bit overrated, because if you're missing the head, it's very likely that you're going to need a 3rd burst anyway. And if you need a 3rd burst anyway, you'll probably lose your duels to almost any other pulse rifle. Moving on, Sudden Death Shotgun. This one's really simple. It's closing time because closing time gives you handling combined with threat detector. There's a lot of niche combinations for both PvP and PvE, but if you want a daily driver, that's what it looks like. And to compare it 1-to-1 to Found Verdict, you're going to notice that Found Verdict has 10 more range, but 10 less handling. at the cost of the origin trait, a sudden death will have 3% extra damage just for existing. In future metas where we have like the checkmate ammo system or something like that, you're not going to have as much uptime for closing time, which means that Found Verdict will likely just be the better choice. However, opening shot goes pretty crazy, and trench barrel goes crazy for killing supers. So pick your poison, but in this case, I'm happy to have already gotten, I guess, the roll that you see on screen right now. Comparing to Found Verdict, it's very similar. I've even heard from other content creators that they like the consistency of Found Verdict, and seeing as though these are very, very similar weapons, and the Adept version, you can also add a range mod for even more consistency. I would imagine that a sudden death is going to fit right at home with my builds, since I typically run void setups. Moving on, the Judgment hand cannon. In Edge of Fate, that weapon stat on armor, that 6% might make a difference with Precision Instrument and the Crossing Over trait to allow for a 2-head, 1-body combination with Precision Instrument. Other than that, I think the other unique combo is Headstone for playing the Threes playlist, because if you get a kill, they can't revive unless they break the crystal, which allows you a clutch opportunity. Similarly, the weapon stat also allows a Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie to go crazy for true 2-taps once you start considering things like Bakris, the Crossing Over perk, and whatnot. But be very careful with Demolitionist or Slide Shot when using Adrenaline Junkie if you're relying on Crossing Over's damage bonus. In that case, you want something like Headstone, Lone Wolf, Keep Away, whatever. There's a lot of combinations on this gun, but ultimately I don't like it because it's in the same slot as Rose, and then in the same slot as the future Not Forgotten that is going to be Stasis and have a high base airborne effectiveness. So this hand cannon is one that I'm very confident you can completely skip unless they somehow revert the magazine change. If they do that, I might actually go back and pick this hand cannon up. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I will see y'all in the next one. If you're wondering why the videos have been on delay, that's because I'm working on a lot of, let's just call them videos on Destiny's overall identity and the future direction they could go with this game or games. And I just want them to have the most information to pull from to make the best games possible in the future. Since games take a long time to make, the sooner the better, so I'm taking a little hit to content now to check that off my to-do list.